Okay, the audio is coming on, and not getting a video signal, Jake.
Yeah, you are. You're not plugged in then.
Just turn it off and turn it back.
Are you sure you're not plugged in?
I am plugged in. I had a video signal, but now I don't.
I was going to give you another blue blanket, Ken.
Just gonna turn this off and turn it back on.
There's a towel here. I can use that.
Here, I'll help you
Just a second.
fold this.
Oh, there's always something.
What's the matter now?
A second, I should be able to figure it out. It's gonna show a big picture of me.
These are all things we can't fix until we actually go live, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I don't have a link here, Jake. There we go. There's Ken.
With the green screen.
All right. I think we're good. Hopefully the audio is good. If someone can let us know. And frick cam test. Nope, it's frozen. That's too bad. All right, go ahead.
Hello, welcome. What are we doing? This is our bi-monthly.
Bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly? Bi-monthly? Doesn't that mean twice a month?
No.
Bi-weekly. Our bi-weekly Purple Heart Project YouTube workshop. Ask me anything. I'll make up the answers. Tonight's topic. Frick, do you want to read it exactly how it was printed?
Well, I fixed it. It did say half-blind dovetails, but now I've corrected it to half-blind dovetails.
But it was supposed to be a sneaky way, I think is what he said.
Yeah, it's
Anyway, so the topic is going to be how do you cut drawers? If you're not good at cutting half blinds, there's a way to do it that's fast, and it's also very creative. I'm actually going to demonstrate it. Something we haven't done in a while. So tonight we have a whole lot of people helping make this work. I'll introduce them as we get a little bit farther into the show, so we can benefit from a bigger audience. I just realized that I forgot something, but I won't bother telling you because then you won't know what it was. We have a very special happy birthday to take care of tonight. We're going to wait for that a little bit later as well. So why don't we dig right into this? Frick, you have a question for me? No?
Not yet. Just give me a sec.
Oh, you haven't got it pulled together. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you an example first of what I'm talking about. This is a cherry chest of drawers. And I found, I don't know if Jake's going to be able to pick this up or not, but there's some really nice figure on that piece of cherry on the drawer fronts. And I didn't have enough of it for all of them. So Alan Peters was great when it came to stretching a pretty piece of wood. So instead of using a 3/4 inch solid piece of highly figured wood, if it was walnut, for instance, he would take a piece of plain walnut and he would slice off thin slices, we would call veneer, off that pretty piece and glue it on. So one 3/4 inch piece of pretty wood could produce a whole lot of surface quality or surface content, surface square footage, guess what I'm trying to say. So here's what I did. I made the drawers. They're cherry with poplar sides. The bottoms are local, what's called white cedar, northern white cedar. But instead of using up that one piece of cherry that was pretty on one drawer, if you look real close, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I actually glued an 1/8 inch piece onto here, you can see it right here if you get the light right, onto the front of this piece of cherry, which instead of having to cut a regular half blind, I did a through dovetail and then applied the front. I'm actually going to demonstrate that for you. So I took that one piece of cherry, I took a slice and put it on here, and then the next slice went on here, and the next slice went on here and right on down the line. So if you stand back and look at it, you can see aspects of that joint that go all the way through, except for this one. So when we were doing this, it was spread out over, how long did it take us? Best part of a year? Remember, we're only filming 3 episodes a week, trying to keep the shop running and at the same time keep all of this organized. So I had these all labeled. But somehow, in the process of doing it, I managed to take this piece and turn it around when I glued it on. So this would actually work perfectly if this piece were flipped upside down and in there like that. And I can't keep myself from telling people that. And they don't notice it until I point it out. But my suggestion is that if you're going to do something like this, make sure you keep track of it. Here's another example of something I did. So this is a piece of Claro walnut. And what you have is the heartwood and actually, that's not true either. This is a piece of, grafted walnut. So in California, where they grow walnuts, there's one tree, the English walnut, over here that I think has a better root system. I can't remember. It either has a better root system or the better fruit. One has a great root system, one bears a great fruit. So what they do is they'll grow the one, and then they will graft in the other. And this is the graft line where the two different trees have grown together. So I didn't have a lot of it, but I was able to take one slice off that piece for each one of these. So you can see that same pattern continues top to bottom. Isn't that pretty? Huh?
You
What?
don't need to show them all of it.
Oh, we're going to save you some. All right, so unless somebody interrupts me with a question, which I welcome, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you how I would do this. I'm going to use a piece of walnut for the drawer side, just so that we can have some nice contrast. And I'm going to use a piece of birch for the drawer front. So first thing I'm going to do is go through and prepare these. I'm also going to show you a new little device. Ken, can you find the... Is it sitting out there? Yeah, I think it's sitting out there on that desk that we just worked on. So my first task is to get all of this squared up. So I'm using my 5.5 on my shooting board. And I'm just going to retract that a little bit. I think that blade may need to be sharpened. Then I'm going to square up the... Actually, I'm just going to do one end. I'm not going to bother doing both sides. So clean that up and then come in and square up that end. Well, let's start with a sharp blade. I've already done... I broke the fibers off, so now I've got to go in and fix that. And all because I was trying to force a dull blade to do the job. When 32 seconds to sharp would have fixed it. So if you haven't had a sharpening lesson in the last little while, I'll give you one. I've got my coarse stone on my left, which I believe is a 500 grit. Find the primary bevel, elevate a few degrees above it, spend about 10 seconds. You want to cover all of the stone so as not to wear one area. It'll extend the life of your stone for you. Work that until you can detect a slight burr in the back side of the blade, at which time you leave that stone and come over here to your fine one. This is a 16,000. Same thing, set the blade down on the primary, lift up just a little bit higher than you did on that first stone. Meaning if I was up 29 degrees on the first stone, I'm sitting at somewhere between 31 and 32 on this one. After about 10 seconds of work, bear down on one corner, a little heavier for 3 seconds, and then the opposite corner for 3 seconds. The last step is to take a piece of, what do we call this, Jake?
It's not a piece.
No.
We call it a
Sharpening rule. And I'm working on the opposite quadrant. What's the matter?
Rick shut my camera.
Yeah, okay.
You did?
No, I can't shut it off from here.
Are you off?
You forgot to hit the record button, obviously. We're good.
Okay. Put the chip breaker on. Bring that up to within about a 32nd of an inch of the edge. Make sure the face of the frog is nice and clean before you set that blade in there. You want good positive contact. And you're trying to eliminate any source of vibration. So if it's sitting up on some dust, you're not going to have that solid feel. Now we'll bring that blade out. Get it parallel to the sole by using your lateral adjustment lever. That's that thing right here underneath the back of the blade. And a little wax makes a huge difference in reducing the friction so that your effort is spent pushing the blade through the wood instead of pushing the plane over the wood. All right, so here's what I did. I went too far and I broke that fiber off. So now what I have to do is come in here and start that over. And we'll flip this over. Now I'm going to cut my chamfer on here again. I didn't quite go far enough. We'll do that again. Cut my chamfer, flip it over. So now you see a gap back here. So what we're going to do is we're going to plane the end of this board until that gap almost disappears. If we go too far, then we break it off again. I think I can take one more pass. There. Okay, so here's what will be my drawer front. But you notice it's quite thick. In fact, it measures 15/16. Now, first thing we have to talk about is our end lap, but let's prep this real fast. Oh, it's a kind of a crappy end on both ends, but we can use this one. Straighten this edge first. This is a piece of black walnut, and I'm using it just so that we have nice contrast. Flip it over and do the same thing. And just go until that disappears. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to put these two pieces together. We have to determine how much of an end lap. So when you're now I want to show you some examples. This one, the end lap is not quite an 8. Well, it's close enough to call it an 8. And on cherry, that's fine. That's plenty strong. This one, which I did a long time ago, I would call that almost a screw up. That end lap is not enough. Needed to be a little heavier. This one, on something this size, that's sufficiently big. If you make it too big, it almost looks machine made because the way they do it with a router, it leaves that end lap really heavy. So I want it to look obviously hand cut, and I want it to be just right. So you can kind of look at it. That wouldn't be enough. That would be too much. So on a piece of tough wood like birch, I'm going to suggest that we can probably just under 1/8 of an inch. So to save a lot of time, I'm going to go in over to the bandsaw and I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to then do a through dovetail, which we can do really fast, and then we're going to glue that piece back on. Now you might think that's a lot of extra work, but actually if you had a lot of these to do, it really isn't. So you say that bandsaw blade, that small general has got a good blade on it, Jake?
Yeah.
We have questions whenever.
Too late. Moose, handle that one. Rex, bring me a square, please, a steel square. We transmit down here? Oh, Jake, that thing is a real pain, you know that?
Yes, you do.
Why is that so tight?
I have no idea.
Did Rex leave?
Yeah.
Did he go thinking I was looking for a square from somewhere else? I want to make sure that this fence is standing square so that when we go in there and make this cut,
Quick question from Rex Hansen.
Rex, my good friend in Idaho.
He says too much lap is understood. How do you tell not enough lap? Is it just by eye or by feel?
Not enough? Well, if it's not enough, it creates a problem because it kind of has that hollow. Well, when I come back over there, I'll show you what I mean. Now I'm trying to get this fence sitting square. So hold that thought for a second. All right, let's see if we can cut this off. You know where your fingers are. Now, if that was a large drawer, I would then send that through the thickness planer to clean it up. But I'll save that part. We have to do that on both. If we really want that to come in and close and be nice and tight, we've got to plane both of these, but we'll save that for a bit. So, Rex, if you tap the end of it and it sounds hollow, then it's too thin. And I've done that before. What else? I remember doing one. I can't think of where it is to show you. Oh, yes, I can, right here. Which one is it, Jake?
Dude, it's one of those boxes on top.
Yeah. I thought it was that mahogany one. Do you remember where that is? Oh, it's right here. Here's the one I'm thinking of. So that end lap measures less than a 1/16. And that's just, if anything were to catch that, there's just not enough strength there because you don't have any effective glue surface between the end of the tail and the inside of even though that's long grain on the inside of this end lap, it's end grain on the end of the tail, so you don't have any effective glue surface. So all it's holding this end lap to the rest of the piece are those little wee tiny connections in between the pins, and then you've got a piece that's 5/16 of an inch. So imagine how strong that little wee thin piece of wood, and having that little bit of connection there doesn't add much to it. So that's a bad example. This would be better. Put the two of them together and see if the camera can pick it up. So here's the same. Well, that's actually, I planed this one too much. Doesn't take much to make a difference. And that's also a matter of taste too. So the more you do this, the more you'll get to refine your palette. Okay, see if we can crank this out. And I'm going to introduce you to a new tool that we just are about to release. If I was doing this, I try to do this as fast as I can because I know you've seen it before. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure my pin board. Come over here in my tail board. I've already squared up the end of this. I'm looking to tell which one I did. It was this one, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. So we're going to scribe all the way around. Keep the questions going, Frick, and I'll stop and answer.
All right, we have one from Mr. Amedley. And he says, how do you keep drawer sides from wearing down on the bottom side from sliding drawer in and out over years of use?
I'm looking at the camera because that was our topic today. We have a newsletter coming. What was it for the April newsletter? Mm-hmm. The April newsletter is going to be on drawer slips. So let me just whet your appetite. What's his name?
Mr. Amedley.
Amedley.
It's his username in the
Oh, where's
chat.
he from? Does it say?
No, but I'm sure he'll put it.
All right. So the question is, how do you prevent wear on drawers? I'm looking for an example. here's a drawer. The side is made out of aspen. It's 5/16 of an inch wide, and it's a wood-on-wood wearing. So the bearing surface is the bottom of the drawer side and right in here. And over multiple years, and if you've seen antique furniture, you almost always will see the little dips that have been worn down into the side, and the drawer drops as a result of it. And it's just because, in fact, I've actually seen them where the drawer side went up like this and along. It wore down that much. It didn't actually ride on this surface, so just the drawer side wore away. So what they would do, they would make what were called drawer slips. And what a drawer slip's primary function was to increase the wear surface without increasing the weight. So if you didn't do that, in order to make a larger wear surface, you'd have to make that drawer side even thicker. Well, that would look ugly if that thing was 3/4 of an inch wide, not to mention the fact that it would be very heavy. So a drawer slip, where's the one we did today? Oh, it's out there. A drawer slip is nothing more, Ken.
Don't give away the farm. There's a whole video coming out about this.
All right, so Jake's the meanie. So here's a piece of mahogany. Let me take these out so you can see it better. I did this out of mahogany just because sometimes you want to hide it, sometimes you accentuate it. So my drawer sides are 5/16, a little more than 5/16 aspen, and I took pieces of mahogany, if you can kind of tell, and I glued them to the inside of the drawer front, and they're flush here. So I now have a wear surface that's 3/4 of an inch wide, a hardwood along with a softer hardwood. The drawer bottom actually sits in that groove. And what you do on the inside is up to you. This one I would left it square. The one I did today, I actually chamfered it. Sometimes you can create a little fillet like that so it's easier to clean the drawer out. But that gives you a lot more wear surface without adding substantially to the weight. And I had to do it to these because these get opened, oh my goodness, I don't know how many times a day, and 6 days a week, 52 weeks a year. So it wouldn't be very long before they would start to wear, and then they droop, and nobody wants droopy drawers. Right, Moose? Good question. So if you haven't already subscribed to our newsletter, Luther puts a lot of work into that. And the topic for April is going to be drawer slips. So Jake and I shoot a video specific to it. It's about an hour-long video because we actually went through and did it. And then Luther always writes an article or two on it. So it's information-packed. So what I'm going to do right now is use my Skew block plane. And I'm going to cut a rabbet. And for those of you across the pond, a rebate. Over here, that means you're going to save money. I'm going to cut a rabbeted rebate on the end of this board. I'm using my Skew block plane. And thanks to Ahmed, who is our wood wonder man down in Southern California. Where are they, Jake?
Banzo.
No, let me show you something. So you see that? That is an auxiliary fence that you add to a Skew block plane that's made by Lee Nielsen. And we've been making them out of maple and offering them for sale for several months. But we just... Oh, no, right here, Ken. These ones are already... Now we're going to offer them in Cocobolo, Zircote, Kingwood, Cocobolo, Verawood, Koa here. What's this one?
Asian striped ebony.
Asian striped ebony, and I already made that. No, that one's, what is that one?
East Indian.
Oh, East Indian rosewood. And we just did the video and the pictures for those, so they should go up on the website soon. I bring that up only because people are always asking me about the Skew block plane. You don't get the fence when you buy the plane, you only get the metal portion. And when you're using this tool, you want to have some registration with the wood before the blade engages. And then when you pass through, it's nice to have some registration with the wood so it's not swinging around on you. In other words, it makes it much more stable in use to have that extra fence. And what I'm doing is cutting a little rebate on the inside edge. I can't imagine anybody out there watching this that hasn't seen me cut dovetails several hundred times, but just in case. After I've cut the rabbet, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the layout. And I'm looking for my red pen, Jake. One that works. We'll just guess on this. So there's our outside. And we got to divide up what's left. We'll do 3 tails on this. Angie on tonight, Ken?
But just so you know, John and Herman DeMio are here. They're watching with us.
No, well, how many people do we have on right now?
725.
That's good. Let's do it now. So, I'm going to stop for just a second. Camera up, please. So I got an email from John, a text from John DeMio. And if you don't know who he is, DeMio, well, maybe I got it from another guy whose name was different.
Maybe you did.
Maybe I did.
Probably did.
Back in October, do you remember the date? It was right down the 14th. Somewhere in mid-October, we did a very special live where we had a still alive World War II vet who was actually he was D-Day +4, Utah Beach. Is that right? I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. And fighting his way across northern France, was captured by the Germans, spent the last year of the war as a POW. Fought alongside his brother at one point. I think there were 4 of them that all fought in World War II. If I'm wrong, it's 3, but I think it's 4. All survived. And I'm not going to spoil the surprise for you if you didn't see it, but go back and watch it because Luther got a hold of this and did a little documentary on it and found some very interesting stuff about the tough hombres, which was the, give me a terminology, it's not platoon. Battalion that Herman was a part of. And we had a really incredible presentation that night for him. So we tried to make his day, and I think we did. Now I just found out it's his birthday. It's his birthday on Tuesday. He's going to be 96. Am I correct? I think he's 96. Yeah. So what we thought we would do is sing him happy birthday. Who wants to lead that off, Moose? You and Fine. I hear you clearing your throat.
Moose doesn't have a mic, so maybe that's for the...
Oh, hey, that's good.
That's good.
He may not see 97 or 5.
I don't know if you heard what he said, but I'll keep it between the two of us. So what I want you to do if you're watching, Herman is part of that the greatest generation. He's one of the few survivors that we have. And I thought it would be nice if everybody wished him a happy birthday. So in the text, or in the chat, if you want to wish Herman a happy birthday, add this little bit to it because it'll be more interesting for him to read. Put in there where you're from. So when John reads them to him, he can tell him so-and-so from Chicoutimi, Quebec, said happy birthday. So are we going to get any female voices involved? Megan's not here yet? Is the cake ready? Can you go get it, please? Bring in Herman's birthday cake and have Erica come in. And we'll do our best, Herman. This is impromptu. There's a present on the way for you as well. And my Christmas card, of all the Christmas cards that got sent, mine got sent back with insufficient postage or something, so we'll resend it. Frick, are you going to start it off?
I'm already enjoying the cake.
Is that Herman's cake?
No,
Tell us about it.
Birthday wishes are just walking in.
So Herman, I wish you were here to enjoy this because I don't eat dairy. So Erica, my oldest daughter, Frick's wife, goes overboard in looking for recipes, and she found this recipe for cheesecake that doesn't have any cheese in it. It's actually made with cashews that you soak all night, and there's no added sugar in it as well, and it's absolutely incredible. In fact, anybody that tries it, Moose had it for the first time tonight. They can't believe it. It's the unhealthy eaters. Oh, Megan, you're here just in time. We need your singing voice. It's Herman's birthday. Even the people that don't care about what they eat, they have this, and they think this is fantastic. So, is the cake coming? Do we have a candle?
We got hundreds of birthday wishes in the light and the comments.
It's crazy.
Already?
It's crazy.
Are they putting in their where they're from? Yeah. Awesome. Rex, is it coming?
What?
Is the cake coming?
Yeah, right now.
Is there a candle?
Yes.
97 of them? 96?
Yeah.
Good.
Put 97 on the apple.
Yeah. Give Moose needs a microphone. You guys are missing all these Moose-isms. So while we're waiting for that, let me just say hello to who's here tonight. Jake's behind the camera. Frick is behind the problems, also known as producing it. I feel bad for him. We were talking at dinner. When something goes wrong for him, everybody knows about it as it happens. I can hide my mistakes. Megan just arrived. She just came from work. So if you're a combat wounded vet that has been to one of our classes, if you'll flag her, we would love to give you a shout out. And you just put Megan in the... At Megan.
Only if you're a vet that you've been to class.
Yeah, a vet that has been to one of the combat wounded vets that have been part of our scholarship program that have come to our class. Put that in there.
I'm turning my mic down.
You have to turn it on, Rex. I don't think your flame's going. Oh, it is?
Do you not see it?
No.
Put your glasses on.
There you go. So, Herman, it's as if you're right here.
Hey, can we get Mickey to blow it out?
Where's Mickey? Is he here?
No, he's over at Steady's.
Oh. Okay, 1, 2, 3. His name is Herman, and he's 96. Happy birthday to you. I got the mic. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Herman. Happy birthday to you. I hope that puts a tear in your eye for the right reason. Who's gonna get to eat this? Megan, have you had it yet? Oh, here, you can have it. It is absolutely delicious. Are you mic'd up, Ken? No. So you guys are missing all these comments. Ken said our viewership just went from 700 down to 100. Happy birthday, Herman, and many more, brother. Great to have you. So remember, if you're a combat wounded vet that has been to our class, one of our previous members, there's a few out here behind me that's represented on our jerseys. I'll actually call them out later tonight. Say something to Megan, and we'll say hello. What were you saying?
We couldn't find Moose's jersey earlier.
Oh.
He had swiped it.
So starting on the half pin, I'm going to step over 3 times. I want to just cross that other line by the amount that it is going to be my pin. Any questions, Frick?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Okay. Why did we do that? Was that one of them?
Not yet. Okay, this one comes from Charlie McBride.
Hi, Charlie.
He says, when you cut the drawer front veneers, how thick did you cut them on the bandsaw, and did you leave excess material for jointing? And how did you predict the wood movement after resawing?
Well, Charlie, that's a lot of questions. So let me try to remember them and take them one at a time. The thickness of the veneer is going to be determined by the species of the wood. So if you're dealing with something like pine that is relatively weak and soft, then you may want to keep that a little bit thicker. And you're right, you're going to have to allow for, in fact, I should do it right now. So there's the piece that I cut. This is a piece of birch. But as soon as you take it off, it's going to start to move. It's no longer flat. Okay, so we've got to fix that. So I wouldn't do this and then wait 4 or 5 days before you come back and plane it flat so that you'll get a nice glue joint. That needs to be done almost immediately. If it moves after the fact, that doesn't matter. We can pull it flat. But trying to get in there now and flatten it is going to be a little bit of an issue, but I think we can do it. I'm going to keep my bench dog high. Is that going to close? No. So we're way out here. I wish someday I can actually come up with the right spacing on bench dogs. Now I've got to drop that down below the surface. So I would suggest, actually, let's measure this and see how much it takes us in order to get it. Oh, I just put that in place. Now I got to take it out.
Welcome to donate money if you stop singing.
Okay, set up a fund.
Things for you to never sing again.
Yeah. So I'm just under 3/16. Can you see where that measurement is? If you're looking right there by the 0. All right, now let's see how much it's going to use, or how much we're going to lose in the process of getting that flat. How about Herman? How did he take it? No response. It's no fair that he's not mic'd up. Can we not have a mic we can give him? It makes me laugh, and then I sound like a lunatic.
We only have 4 inputs. You can give him Jake's mic if you want.
If Jake doesn't use his. So I've got to get this nice and smooth. I trust you can see where we still have mill marks from the bandsaw. Okay, so that looks good. I'm going to get rid of the plane tracks now, so I got to move that blade over just a bit. Pull the blade in a little more. Okay, so that's nice and smooth, and I was able to do that. Well, there's where I'm mic'd. I'm still a fat 8, which is plenty. Now, I also want to mark it so I can make sure I put this back together properly. Is that how it went?
Check the green. It's got that cathedral on it.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so I'm going to put top right. This will be the outside. And it's going to sit like that. Okay. Now let's go in here and... Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention for our draw tonight, and almost forgot. So Mrs. Claus, I just was notified, came down with COVID, but she survived and she's on the mend. So we're happy to hear that. Santa Claus is doing fine. And a big thank you to them for sponsoring this, which they so generously do. So tonight we're giving away our man Harold. Harold Snodgrass is, how long's Harold been with us, Ken? Has it been over a year? Really? Wow. Harold spends his entire week making shooting boards. And in case you were unaware, we just released last week our new mini shooting board, which works fantastic with a block plane. And when are we releasing it, Jake? Sometime this week?
Maybe.
Sometime this week, we're releasing the new flat miter shooting boards. So there's a left and a right in the 24-inch version and a left and a right in the 18-inch version. So we're going to give away, and it'll be your choice whether you want the 18 or 24 and whether you need the right or left. We're going to give away one of those for every $1,000 in donations we get tonight. And if you want to put your name in the draw, Frick will put the link in there. That's all it takes. It doesn't cost you anything. If you would like to help sponsor our Purple Heart program where we bring in combat wounded vets, Shoot, we didn't. Next week, I'll give you another updated tour of our new classroom that will hopefully be ready in a matter of a month or so. And if we can get this COVID thing behind us, we can get our program back up and running. Okay, I got to go in here and get these cut. Got to make sure that that cut across the end of the board is perpendicular. Down to the line. When you're doing this, you always want to keep the pen line on there because that is your reference. If you saw through it, then you don't know whether or not you're staying parallel to it. Anybody to say hello to, Megan? Sean is?
Just wait, yeah, we need your mic on.
Sean McDermott. Hello, brother. And who else did you say?
Kevin Meara and Phil Lawrence.
Kevin Smira? Kev, brother, and Phil Lawrence. Hey, Phil.
Mark Smith is here too.
Mark. I just heard Mark. I can't believe they're sending you to Ontario. What did you do wrong?
And Joe Bright.
Joseph Bright.
People are donating in honor of Herman tonight.
Well, isn't that great? Fantastic. I'm sure that'll make his day. So if you look up here, this is Joe Bright. Joe is a bona fide hero. I read his what's it called? Accommodation, telling about how he saved so many soldiers and at his own cost to his own health. And Jake Tirola's up there. Steve Shull, he was a Vietnam vet.
So was Gary.
And so was Gary. Yeah, Gary Witt. And Gary had an incredible story about charging a machine gun nest up a hill and running straight at it. He's told to do it and actually made it. And Dan Fye, who is a fireman, lost his leg due to an IED, but still managed to become a fireman. And pretty impressive story. Who did I forget? Nobody. I got more jerseys coming. Frick, when are you going to get the names on the other jerseys? I'll put the pressure on you. Tomorrow?
No, sorry. Monday.
Okay. So let's take this piece. Did I forget anybody, Ken?
Just so, because people can't hear Ken, he said that people are donating in honor of Herman tonight. You said that was incredible, but they didn't know why you said that.
Oh,
So.
okay. So the donations that have been coming in are being done in how did you put it? In honor of Herman DeMaio, World War II vet. DeMio. Well, maybe he'll change it after tonight.
Maybe he'll change his address too.
He did. That's why my card didn't make it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. This is something new. I'll introduce this to you. We've been working on this for how long? Over a year, right?
Yeah.
So the way I used to do this, and I'm sure everybody's familiar with the offset method by now, I used to use a marking gauge. And it was a little bit difficult because you had to balance this heavy marking gauge on the end of that cutter, and it wasn't always easy to do. So we came up with this idea. These are the prototypes. So this is a piece of brass that has been milled. So this top cube is 25 thousandths of an inch smaller on all sides, which would mean double that. But so there's a 25 thou lip all the way around. This one's 23, this one's 24, 24, 24. We were playing with sizes, we were playing with the amount. What am I going to do tonight? 23? Huh? All right, so what we're trying to match is the thickness of the saw kerf. And my saw has been sharpened, that's right too. Every time you sharpen your saw, your kerf is going to get a little narrower because if we measure the kerf based on the outside points of the teeth that stick this way and the outside points of the teeth that stick that way, right? So if you look at your saw down the line, it looks like this. You've got your saw plate down here, then you've got set that's, and when they're new, 2/1000 of an inch on both sides. The teeth stick out 2/1000 of an inch. That plus, so 2 thou and 2 thou plus 20 thou for the saw plate gives you a 24 thou kerf. But every time you sharpen, you're going to bring those corners in a little bit. So we're going to offer these in 3 different sizes. For most folks, they'll just want a 24 thou unless they're cutting a lot of dovetails. So what I do, instead of having to balance that marking gauge, I'm going to come in here, find my little rabbit. Oh, wait a minute now. Did I get rid of all that debris in there? There's how the rabbit works. It rests on that. And then I come in with this. And I just move that over, which is nice and slick, until the bottom touches and the top pushes the top over. And there's my 23 thou difference. So if I move my tailboard to my left, I'm going to go to the right side of each tail. I'm going to drag my knife through the end grain of the pin board, and it'll leave me a mark. And then I'll do this. I was just saying Mark Smith. Mark worked with us for how many months, Ken? 4 or 5 months last year. Helped us get this new shop ready. Actually, our shipping room. And now we just found out he's being transferred. Now, to do the other side, I'm going to put the wider part on the bottom. I like to do it this way. Actually slide over a little bit beyond where you need to be and then just move it back. And when you move it back, when it comes up tight, it's exactly where you want it. So the top board is offset to my right. So I'm going to go to the left side of each tail.
They like it.
Oh, it's amazing. Big shout out to Paul Hayden, who's my friend, and he's a genius. And I don't mind saying it. He's an absolute genius. I would come up with an idea or concept, and Paul would turn it into a product. And Paul's the one that helped us come up with this method and way of doing it.
Do you have a name for it yet?
Well, right now it's called the offset jig, but what it's actually going to end up being when the time we bring it to market, I don't know. But
Sue B suggested the offset block.
the offset block, something. We're always open to suggestions. Now, what I'm doing right now is measuring the thickness of my tailboard, but I'm measuring it right out here where the rabbit is instead of back in here. And then I'll scribe a baseline on both sides. I'm supposed to be doing this fast so it makes it look like this method of doing it is quicker. And when I say this method, I mean cutting off the front. I didn't get all the way around the room. Megan's here. My friend Moose is here, the keeper of the dead cats. And Ken is here, helping out tonight. Luther's on the line, out in Seattle. Roy, Utah. Not Roy, Utah. Roy, Washington. Washington.
Tony's on.
Tony Brahadur. Okay, Jake, I want you to do this. So here, we got to take a little tour. This is an ode to Tony.
Okay.
Now, Tony is a
Ping.
what pig?
On the phone?
Ping.
Ping?
Where is it?
In the corner.
I can fix that. Tony is a combat wounded veteran, Canadian Army, 22 years. A big happy retirement day. Tony's being medically retired this coming week. But I don't want to tell all Tony's story. We'll save that for another day. But what a guy. He started coming down here. He just showed up one day. He had this big log. And he was, remember that? I don't know what he's going to do with it, but he sanded it. He went like a maniac on it. And he came down a couple of times. I said, you're welcome. You come down anytime you want. I said, this is home for vets. So he ended up applying to our Purple Heart Project and got accepted. But he would have been in the first class of 2020, which obviously didn't go because of COVID. So we ended up hiring him. So Tony comes in and works Thursday and Friday of every week. He lives about 40 miles away. And he only works 2 days a week because he gets done in 2 days what most people do in 5. Ken, am I right? So his first job is he cleans this place to within an inch of its life, but then he organizes things. So I just want to come down here and show you this. This is typical military fashion. Now, our shop has grown wildly in the last year or two, which means we never have room to put things back. I never have time to put things back. Should, but don't. So we're terribly disorganized. I should say we. I'll have to take all the for it. So Tony came in, and the other day he did the...
Wait.
What?
Second, we're losing the sound here. Okay, try it.
Anyway, he said, can you do something with the cabinet where we keep all the finishes? So now everything is all labeled. Everything is put in there just the way it should be, with a note to remind people to keep it nice and tidy. So everything in the shop that is neat, if you look over here, the lumber rack looks like a lumber rack now. You could eat off of the floor. That back wall that was an absolute disaster is all cleaned up. The lumber, if you have even a home
Don't
shop,
go too far.
your sheet goods storage always ends up being a pile of junk because I hate throwing away anything. That's nicely stored. We just can't wait for Thursday when Tony shows up because by Friday we can find everything that we lost Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Why is there so much dust on that workout equipment?
Who said?
Me?
Because you haven't been using it. So anyway, Tony's here, and Tony is fantastic.
We have a couple people that want to thank Moose for their dead cat sweaters. Everyone loves them.
Oh, but of course. So let's talk about what we're giving away tonight. I called him the keeper of the dead cats for a reason. So tonight we're giving away the miter shooting boards. We're also giving away the Captain is Always Right hoodie, and on the hood it says, and I'm the captain. The famous dead cat sweater. Everybody I know now wears one, and they all tell you the same thing. It's so light and so warm, it's incredible. And I don't say that to oversell it. I'm telling you, if you live somewhere cold like Texas, is there going to be a run on dead cats heading to Texas?
Too soon.
What?
Too soon of a joke for Texas. I'm just kidding.
It is just incredible. We have a Naughty Girl sweater, t-shirt, very thin.
Not meant for Texas.
Not meant for Texas or Frick.
Not that
And a special giveaway tonight. So this is going to be, if you want to focus on Moose. My wife loves this. So this is what do you call it, Moose?
We just call it a Canada hoodie,
It's a Canada hoodie.
but it's got the nice collegiate look
And hockey skate laces for drawstrings on your hood.
and it's really nice and soft inside. It's a lovely hoodie. It's a warm.
Turn around. Is there anything on the back?
Just broad shoulders.
So Moose had an idea. We're gonna give away one of these as a special tonight, and in honor of Herman's birthday. So if anybody, we're only giving away one. So if you want one of these, and it's a Canada, wear it proudly. What's the deal?
Well, it's regular 42 online, but we're putting it on for all the followers of RobCosman.com. It's going to be on for 30, isn't it, Jake? We did 30. Yeah.
And for how long is that on for?
We'll keep it on for a week because
For the Herman week.
Yep. So it's in honor of Herman. It's a Herman hoodie sale.
The Herman hoodie sale. Herman from the hood.
And the website's on the screen right now. So.
All right, so there you go. You have a little piece of Canadiana. Thank you, Moose. Did I forget anybody else?
T-shirts.
Oh, T-shirts, yes. Yeah. What? Well, I'm looking for Angie's picture. So, and we'll show them. We didn't get that. No. We'll have to show you something special in 2 weeks. So this is Angie. Angie is Ken's cousin, And Angie and her sister Lynn, they work with us as well, and they do all of the T-shirts. So when you order a Wood is Good Purple Heart T-shirt, Wood is Good. This is Angie's color, teal. That's Wood Doing Good. This is Wood is Good. This is Wood for Good. They'll come nicely packaged. Nicely packaged with a little picture on there. That was the first day that I went out and met Angie. And that A is her seal of approval, so you know it's packed with care and ready to go. And someone said to me the other day that, my friend Mike Morris, who took care of me one time, retired physician, and Mike said, you need to tell them how good these T-shirts are. They're cotton, there's no junk in them, and they feel great. I love them. In fact, all anybody around here wears. This is the one I have on tonight. Thanks for bringing that up, Mike. Okay, if anything else, let me know. So now we need to get these cut. And I can't see the baseline, so I'm going to grab a piece of tape here real quick. I didn't mean this to be a dovetail night, but I guess in a way it's going to be. I'm going to put a piece of
The deck was off.
It was off?
Yeah.
Try fixing it.
Everyone's saying it's back up.
It is?
Jake fixed it.
Jake's mic's out.
Frick, you can go.
Well, I quit, but then I decided to come back.
Where are you going now? Finish your business?
I quit.
All right, set the saw right in the kerf and make those cuts. Did you hear what Moose said?
No.
I want to know if you wanted a Purple Heart for doing that. I wonder if Chris is watching.
Which one?
Davenport. We have another honorable mention. His name is Chris Davenport, and he works for a company called RPC, which is Research Productivity Council. And Chris has been really instrumental in helping us.
Yeah, Chris is on. Chris is on.
Oh, Chris, yes, good. Howdy, Chris. Our saw production and quality have improved dramatically, and most of it has to do with input from Chris. And actually, Chris is the one that's going to be producing our offset jig. So big shout out to Chris. Much appreciated. And Ken makes me harass him daily to find out when stuff's coming. I just had to put that out there, Ken. All right, saw through that.
getting a lot of good suggestions for the name. You'll
Yeah?
have to read through them when you watch this back.
I will. I go back and read, I watch all of this and read all the comments. I want to keep in touch with what you guys are saying and doing. And I can't obviously do it when I'm in front of the camera. So it's too late to respond to you, but I hear it. I read it. Any comment, any questions, Frick?
A second. Let me check this briefly.
Is my mother watching?
I don't see her. Your brother's here, Mike.
Mike.
And Loren is here.
Me brother Mike. Loren?
Yeah.
Oh, all of my children. And my brother Mike. Hello, Roo. Now, if you order something, the first time you're going to get a call from me saying thank you. And on subsequent orders, you'll hear from my daughter Loren. She's very polite. And if my mother's watching, hello, Mom. All right,
Probably
let's,
watching a hockey game. It's hockey night in Canada.
all right, let's get this chopped. I'll use my 1/2 inch. Where's Mike? Has he got Richard with him? Randy on? Hi. Brother Jake? Moose says a big hello.
Yeah, they kidnapped your jersey on.
Yeah. Actually, he's been blaming your jersey for slowing him down. So Jake Tarola is the father of 7?
Like 18 kids.
18? See, he came here for 2 weeks, or a week, and look what happened. Jake was the proud recipient of the guitar that the East Tennessee Luthiers Guild built and donated to us to help raise funds for the Purple Heart. So we expect he and his kids to be on performing. In fact, we should have had them do happy birthday. Having a hard time seeing that line. Rex is here somewhere. I think I forgot to mention Rex.
No, he left.
He did?
Yeah.
Had enough?
Yeah.
No security issues?
No, we got moose.
Cousin Terry's with him? He's got Terry and Richard. That'd be an interesting night. All right. Now, just before we assemble it, we've got to do this. Go in and cut the waste out of these. Thank you, Jake. I can't see. I want to have enough time to get this glued, let it set, and then finish it. How are we for time, Frick?
We have 55 minutes left. It's 8:04.
Okay, I'm good. Any more questions?
I got a whole list of questions.
Well, start firing them off. I can talk
Well, you
and
won't be quiet.
talk and work. What?
All right, this comes from some of these were pre-submitted, and again, if you were a member of the newsletter, you're given the opportunity to submit questions beforehand. So this is where some of these come from. So Richard Wilson from Louisville
Hey, Richard.
says, when chiseling the dovetails, do you ever just go to the 16,000 grit stone for a touch-up sharpening, or do you always do a complete resharpen?
Well, I wouldn't call I wouldn't call it a complete resharpen, but based on the way you're posing the question, it is. The 16,000 does not move metal fast enough to give you to make it feasible as a means of resharpening. So the 16,000 applies what we call the third or the tertiary bevel. And you essentially wipe that out in the process of dulling the chisel. So you come in with you go right to your 1,000 and you essentially wipe out what was left of the 16, create a new secondary or sharpen your secondary, and then go over and redo your tertiary on the 16,000 grit. Now that whole process on a chisel takes
10 seconds.
10 to 15 seconds at the most, so it's not like it's a lot of work. But no, you can't. I don't think you can get an appropriate resharpen on just the 16 alone. I'm looking at this and just seeing a little bit of material still sitting up above the scribe line. That's why I'm going back and working it. Now we'll go in there and remove that material. Since it's walnut, I'm going to use my
I don't know what's wrong with that.
my 25 degree beveled chisel as opposed to my 17s. Nice thing about having that rabbet is you've got lots of support for your chisel.
You should probably point out that you use the same bevel with the same angle for the birch.
Yeah. Yeah, the
It
17
sounded like you switched it up.
the 17 degree chisels are only for very soft wood. If you try to use, ooh, that wasn't good. Now, what I just said wasn't very good is that I chopped too far down from the other side. So when I started working on this, the fibers are breaking terribly close. See that? Just push that other way. So the fibers are breaking very close to the surface. I should not have I should have only chopped down about that far from that side and then left enough material that I could chop from this side. And I didn't. I got a little carried away. Make sure the inside corners are nice and clean. Is this Mike's Saturday night entertainment? Nothing on Netflix? Okay, we'll come in here and we'll cut a chamfer on the inside edge of each of these tails.
Going all the way.
Well, out of habit I didn't, but you could because it's a half blind. And then clip those off. So, interesting to hear how many people are interested in getting an offset jig as soon as we have them. So if you want to volunteer that information, you might motivate me to work a little faster to get
Sign
it
up
out.
for the newsletter.
Sign up for the newsletter to find out when it gets released.
They basically said, "Shut up and take my money." That came from Charlie, so
Which Charlie?
Charlie McBride. But a couple of people agreed with him, so they're ready for it.
Yeah.
Just need a cool name.
Oh, Mike's driving.
Mike's driving. So he's driving a rig while texting and watching us on here. I'm glad I'm not in Ontario.
He's probably sitting in the back. And
Did you post Pat's Secret Garden link on there?
yes, I did when we were talking about the Dead Cat and Canada hoodie.
Remember, if you want to participate in our draw tonight, doesn't cost you anything. We're happy to make other people happy, which was Santa Claus originally approached me, and that's what he asked me to do. He sent me money out of the blue and just said, "Rob, why don't you just make some people happy and maybe every week give away some tools?" And I remember thinking, who is this guy? He's crazy. But that has led us down a very interesting path to where we are today. And he was, Santa Claus was one of the primary influences in us starting the Purple Heart Project. It was his generosity in the original example and then his help in helping it in getting me to get it started. Okay, this is ready to glue up. Of course, we don't test fit because there's no need to.
Sean McDermott says you should call it the Sean Shim.
Oh, was Sean? That was Sean's idea from. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he said that. He made it pretty clear that it's his idea, so it should be called the
Yeah,
Sean Shim.
I remember that. That was way back in the class. It's the Sean Shim. That's what we actually talked about. Well, it might have to have that name. I apologize, Sean. And it's not. It's only because of my bad memory. It's not a bad memory. It's just short memory. Thanks for speaking up.
They want an update on Willie.
Huh?
They want an update on Willie.
Oh, Willie. Well, I tried to get Willie to come tonight. Willie was here yesterday, and he's itching.
He's been
he got his
obeying his
task
wife
list.
and doctor and not doing any work.
He what?
He's been strictly obeying his wife
Oh,
and doctor
yes, that's
and not
right.
doing
That's right.
any
I
work.
forgot. Certain people watch this. Willie's doing wonderful. I should hope to be in near the condition when I'm 112.
Somebody says Jake should be doing the night on camera and give you a break.
He should.
Only
Wait,
if
but
he
Jake-
has to hold the
Jake's-
camera.
Ask Perk how many times it takes. It takes Jake to.
Well, maybe he's improved in the last year. We'll see.
A couple people have asked about Angie's bed desk. How she likes it. Can you explain to
Well,
Promptly delivered.
You can't
how much longer are we on for?
Yes.
COVID. That's thank you, Ken. COVID has slowed us down. Her bed desk is over there, and I keep reminding it's Ken's fault because I keep saying, Ken, you got to remind me to get that finished.
I remind you, you can't take it out anyway.
Right. Right. Okay, put that in place. Start it by hand first. You're going to love that offset jig. Shut up and take my money.
Somebody's asking how much they are.
I think they're going to be $40. Do we know that? Okay, so now, wait a minute, I got to get this done on this end. Okay, I'm not going to worry about this face first. So now we've got to come in and we've got to prep this side. Make sure there's no debris underneath there. We've got to prep this side for gluing.
That's it.
Pardon?
Is that seated right there?
Well, I couldn't see the line when I was chiseling it, and I knew it was on the inside, so I didn't have to worry about it.
So Jake's roll is on. So is Gary Burnett.
Gary? Howdy, Gary. Did we talk about Gary delivering?
Pretty sure we did, because that happened.
No, that happened in between lives.
Yeah, I
wasn't
thought so
did?
too.
Yeah.
So Gary and Danny Bell delivered a bench, part of the bench brigade headed up by Jack down in Texas, and they delivered it to George. What's George's last name?
Peters.
George Peters. And we got it on video, so we know it happened.
And so is Kevin Burris.
Hey, Kev. I talked to Kev yesterday, or the day before. And Kev got a good... Kev, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but had a bit of a scare. They found a growth on his hip, but the news came back that it was not, that it was benign. So he's going to stick around for another 50 years anyway.
Well, they said it was either benign or beten.
Didn't know you were a dad already.
Moose, is this your influence?
Wait, I got a laugh track.
Because we needed it? Where's Super Dave?
Do you have the...
He's
That
not-
would
he's-
get a comment from him.
He's at a birthday party.
Can you show the jig really quick? Someone missed it. I want to see it.
Yeah. So this is the offset This is the Sean Shim. Sean Shim. Yeah, it has to be that. It has to be that. So,
or a variation of it. I don't think we'll settle on the Sean Shim name.
we are. We're all about these guys. So there's what it is. It's a solid piece of brass, pretty hefty. And it has, we're going to offer it in, we're going to offer it in at least, but pretty sure. Now remember, these are prototypes. I wanted the engraving to be large enough so that those of us with lousy eyesight can see it. So 3 different sizes. And then there's the branding on the bottom. So this one has a 24 thou offset. And what that represents is the thickness of the saw curve. So if you put my saw right on there like that, it should feel flush right out there at the tooth line. And it just works fantastically for moving that over. And it's got some real mass to it too. That's what I like. The first one we did out of aluminum. And that did nothing for me. Well, it worked, but it just didn't, it was missing something. All right, so this is going on like that. So I'm going to put this in the jig, or in the what's funny?
Oh, we've already got the movie planned out. It's going to be called The Sean Shim Redemption. That's from Charlie C. That's good.
Sean Shim Redemption.
That was better than Jake's.
Yeah.
He doesn't need a laugh track for that.
The Sean Shim Redemption. All right, I'm going to use this as a call. So that will go on there like so. Make sure there's no debris. Now we'll spread that glue on there real quick. See if we can't get this done and finished before the end of the night. Oh, there. Questions, Frick? You said you had lots.
Yep. All right, let's go. Next one comes from Ebby in Georgia.
Ebby.
He says the Kerf X10, this is a long one. The Kerf X10 works not from removing material, but by compressing it. I love the perfect edge and the face that it leaves. But what effect does that compression have on the wood over time? Can it increase the chance of a localized split in the vicinity of the pin or tail junction?
He's definitely too scientific for the
Oh,
level
yeah.
we're at.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Abby. Don't have an answer for you. But we'll guarantee them for at least 20 years. I don't think you're going to have an issue.
Well, he's basically asking if the Kerf X10, using it, will have any effect on the wood over time.
No, I don't think so. I do not think so, for whatever that's worth. Now, I'm putting these on here just lightly
Well,
to keep that from...
It was a technique that was taught by, who was it?
Tay Frid. Or Taj. Tage Fried. His name is Tay Frid. That's right from the horse's mouth. Now, we'll throw some clamps on this. Those ones are just to keep that piece of wood from sliding. Now I'll come in here. I've got that piece of 1-inch MDF on there to help spread the force of the clamps out.
I want to know why the clamping board is named Call, C-A-L-L.
It is a call, C-A-U-L, and I don't know why. I used to question just about everything, but some things I let slide, and that was one of them. If somebody can come up with an answer, I'm open. Now, I don't want to stress that joint too soon.
Alan McCune finally cleared up the Claro English walnut.
Dilemma? Oh, and Alan would know. Alan's a university professor. What is it?
English fruit.
The English
With
English
exception.
nut is better, and the Claro root is superior. Thank you, Alan. All right, next question, Frick.
Okay. Next question comes from Daniel O'Connell in Ireland. He says,
Dan?
Is it always better to do a half-blind dovetail on drawer fronts, or is doing through dovetails, which is quicker, and gluing on the drawer front a better way to go?
Well, so the purpose of our demo was to address that.
You need 2 more clamps over here too.
Where?
Nowhere.
Huh?
Nowhere. That's
Oh, you're making fun.
yeah.
No, I am going to put one more on there. The problem is that traditional half blinds, before the Kerf X10 was born, and the half blind chisel, was a difficult process because you're having to go in there and literally carve all that material out of that socket, and it's a lot of work. I would suggest, now if you don't know what the Kerf X10 is, let me show you. There's 2 tools that make this so much easier than it ever was. So when you're doing a half blind, do we have an example,
Grab a
Jake?
drawer. Grab a drawer.
Yeah, but I thought we had one right here. We do. In fact, I've even got it apart. So look at this. When you're doing a half blind, the traditional way, you have to go in. You can only make your saw cut. You know, you're cutting on an angle, and you can only cut from there to there, right? You don't want to cut beyond. You don't want to scar your end lap, and you don't want to cut down the inside side face. So you're left with all of the material between. Come on, I should be able to draw a line on there. I need a pencil. Bear with me, I'll get it. And a small square. So when you cut this joint, you are only able to saw this. So you're left going in, and this shaded area has to be removed by chisel. So you'd go in and you would work away at all this material, and then you got to go in, and here's where the problem was. Folks would have to come in there and they would start paring across the pin. And the second you end up taking a little too much material off of here, now it no longer fits, it's loose. So instead of doing that, after making the initial cut, now I'll do it on this end so you know exactly what I'm talking about. After making the initial cut, like that, you can take what's called the Kerf X10. Now this is nothing more than, I shouldn't say nothing more, this is everything. This is a 25 thou blade. So the kerf is 24 thou. It's 1 thou wider. It's squared off. It's not pointed. And what you're going to do is you're going to set that in the kerf like so. I always start it by hand. And then tap it down like that till you get to the bottom. And then come a little further. And then the full distance. Now what's amazing to me is this. It didn't split it. Where'd the wood go? Well, as Ebby was asking, it drives the wood straight down in. So when you end up removing that material, this sidewall that is so problematic in normal half blinds is now totally cleaned up. And all you've got to do is remove that bit and you're done. Now, that would probably cut, if a half blind that size took 40 minutes to do, that would reduce it probably down to 25 minutes. Having a half blind chisel, which is shaped like so, allows you to go in and clean that corner and clean this corner. But some folks will go out and they'll buy what are called skew chisels. And a skew chisel is simply a chisel that is angled, and you would use that to go in to clean out that corner. But obviously, you need a left and a right. The biggest problem is this. You're pushing through end grain, which is going to be the toughest of all the cuts in this piece of wood. And you're pushing that way, but your chisel is off, your line of center is off. So you're having to literally push like that, which is rather difficult, not to mention it robs you of a bit of control. With a half-blind chisel, one chisel does both corners, and because of its shape, you're pushing straight forward. So your line of force is exactly where you want it. So if you're going to do any number, I'm going to turn this into a bit of a commercial. If you plan to do any number of half blinds, to do them without a half blind chisel and a Kerf X10, you're doubling your work, easily doubling your work. So back to my the original question. Would I do what I just did for half blinds today? Probably not. Not for that reason, simply because I can now do half blinds pretty quick. The biggest function, or the biggest reason, is always going to be this. So when I did this chest, this jewelry chest for my wife, by the way, when you make jewelry chests for your wife, you make them small, very small, because you end up filling them. But you'll see the drawer fronts. If you look closely, that's the same piece of wood all the way. Let's pick something out. So we'll pick this little cluster of 4 bird's eyes. And it's right there, and it's right there, and it's right there, and there, and there, and there, and there. Actually, that one's off a little bit.
The bottom one, it's missing.
No, there's your 4.
No,
There's your 4. So you're able to go in and take one piece of wood, and then you have all the grain just transcending as you go through, and it just gives a continuity to your drawer fronts that elevates your work instantly. Just don't get them turned around backwards like I did on there. Okay, next question, Frick.
Okay, next question comes from Max Musterman in the chat.
Hey, Max.
He says, what's your way to remove the glue on the inside edge of some dovetailed pieces?
What's my way to remove the glue
On the inside edge.
on the inside edge?
Of some dovetailed pieces.
Oh, Max, I'm not following you, brother. Try that one again. I know.
It must
Do
be
you
in
know?
the inside corner. Like inside the corner.
Well, okay, maybe he means this. So you put your joint together, and you're talking about getting some squeeze out in there. If this is, I can only answer it this way because this is what I think you're asking. First of all, I would do it as soon as the glue starts to get gummy. If you wait until it's hard, you run the risk of actually pulling wood fiber with the glue. If you do it while it's still soft, you end up smearing it all over, and I don't believe in that wet rag theory. So if you get it while it's before it's solidified, and it's still gummy enough that it won't really stick. When it's gummy and you happen to drop it on here, it won't stick to it, and it won't leave a smear mark either. And yet it's still pliable enough that you can get in there and cut it free, top and bottom, and remove it. So that's when I would do it. Remember, sign up for our draw. All it takes is just to follow the link on there, and we'll be happy to give away some prizes. Tonight we're giving away these 4 garments, the Dead Cat, which is famous around the world for keeping people warm, and I think it's even comfortable in the summer. Special one we're going to give away tonight in honor of Herman DeMaio's birthday. It's his birthday week. What? Did I say it wrong again?
Every time.
Then it must be DeMaio.
DeMaio.
You're thinking of Cinco
Like
de Mayo.
Cinco.
Herman. Cinco de Mayo?
That's what you're thinking of.
May 5th?
Coming up.
He's
So
Italian.
Moose is kindly giving you guys a great deal. Instead of 45, it's 30. No,
42 and 30.
instead of 42, it's $30. This is fantastic. This is great. That'd be warm too. I might need one of those for when I dress up, because I got my change in oil dead cat. You got to see one of my dead cats. My wife says, you're not going anywhere with me with running that. So I have one for going out, a Sunday going to meeting one, and a one for working around the shop. And we're giving away those 4 garments. We're also giving away, thanks to Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, who's on the mend, we're giving away a brand new, haven't been released yet, mitered shooting board. You can take your pick, left or right, 18 or 24. We'll give away one every 1,000 increment. How are we doing tonight, Megan? Pardon?
I'm in the middle of adding it
Oh, good, thank you. Any more vets to say hello to? If you're a combat wounded vet and you've been to our class as one of our scholarship vets, please say something. Tag Megan so we can give you a shout out. Frick, next question. And a big congratulations to Luther, who has his love of his life back with him for the weekend. Erica, his wife, has been in Southern California going to school, working on a doctorate. And Luther has been in Seattle going to school. What's he learning, Jake?
English?
That was good.
I was thinking the same thing.
English. But that is English if you're from Tallahassee. What is it?
South Kakalaki.
South Kakalaki. I'm sure the phone will ring right as soon as this ends.
All right. Question comes
Go
from
ahead.
Question comes from Hera Puzo in the chat.
Hey, Hera.
What's a decent bandsaw for resawing? Like for Rob's drawer fronts that match plus triple woodworkers.
Wow. Oh, this is a tough question. You know, is that you, Moose? You know, we could probably turn into a symphony. Yours and mine. The reason that's a tough question is I can't think of a modern brand that I'm excited about. Let's take a quick little walk. So right here, I have a problem. I collect tools. So this is a General 20-inch. This is made in Drummondville, Quebec. This is General Canada. They closed their business, I think, in 2015. They started in 1946, and they made equipment for public school workshops. So it had to be idiot-proof, it had to be indestructible, and easy to maintain. The design never changed in all those years. Fantastic piece of equipment. Back there, you see a 24-inch Poitra, and I always pronounce it wrong, but that's the way I say it. That, too, is a Quebec company. It's actually a man and his daughters that had that company. They got absorbed by General. That's a fantastic machine, just extremely well built. The little green one right behind the ladder, Jake, and the two other green ones down there are all General, same company, smaller version. These are great machines. They just don't quit. I've had other brands. I've had a brand new brand. I did not like it. As soon as it was great at first, but when we got busier and we started using it more, it really was, I hated the guides on it. Didn't like it at all. I sold it. So my advice to you would be to buy something old. When I mean old, I mean if you're going to buy a Rockwell, which I have over in my new shop, which is we're almost ready to move into. You want to buy something Rockwell that was made prior 1980. Any of the old American companies or Canadian companies back in the 50s and 60s, that stuff is all great machinery. I'd stay away from Babbitt bearings just because I don't know enough about how to change them. But anything with ball bearings that's old, heavy cast iron, I would buy it in a heartbeat. As far as new stuff,
So he's looking for something just for a home garage, nothing.
well,
nothing
yeah, I
massive.
know you are, but you're wanting to. That takes a lot of torque for a saw to pull that blade through that thick piece of wood, and it's not all just in horsepower. You want the capacity. You need the throat capacity. That's under the guides. You also want the under the guides is depth. Throat is from the frame back. How much? So if it's a 15-inch bandsaw, you can cut approximately 15 inches. Actually, a little bit less than that. So you just have to have a fairly stout machine, and I don't think the little light ones are going to cut it for you. You'll probably find they get in there and they'll bog down, and the blade will wander, and they're not made for heavy cutting. You're almost better off to go on your table saw and cut it from two directions, and then just bandsaw what's left in the middle. That would be my suggestion if you can't find a good big old bandsaw. It doesn't need to be huge, but I wouldn't want anything less than 15-inch on the wheels.
Emerson Bailey.
Pardon?
Doc.
Doc Bailey? Doc? Vietnam era.
We got a message from Santa.
Yes, what's he saying?
He said, me and Mrs. Claus are in the house. A big happy birthday to you, Herman. It's people like you and others makes what this PHP is all about. We are honored to be part of this. Thank you for your service.
Thanks, Santa.
And of course, thank you, Santa, for your contributions.
Happy birthday to Herman. Next question, Frick.
Eric Opal in Chester, Virginia.
Hi, Eric. That name sounds very familiar.
I think maybe he's one of our winners before, or he asked another question. But
There's
anyway,
a customer.
Rob, which wood is the best to practice with and thickness?
Practice dovetails, I assume.
Yeah.
The absolute nicest wood to cut dovetails in is mahogany, because it grows at the same rate all year. So unlike a piece of oak, where you get this extremely hard band of wood in between drinking straws, which is what it's the consistency of, which is very hard, soft, difficult to plane, difficult to saw, difficult to chisel. Mahogany is beautiful, just has a lovely consistency. A little easier to get. Poplar's not bad. I'm not a huge fan of it, but that's only because of the grayish white color that it gets. What else is really nice, Jake? What do we
Why
promote?
haven't you said pine?
Oh, pine. Well, because depending on where you are, if you can get a hold of northern white pine, that's a lovely wood. It's absolutely gorgeous wood. I'm not a huge fan of lodgepole pine. I'm not a huge fan of ponderosa.
Southern yellow.
Southern yellow. That's really hard. There's just enough pitch in northern white pine that it just has wow, it's such a lovely wood to work. It's actually my favorite wood. There's nothing that ages any better. So if you're talking about practice on something easy to cut that allows you to develop your technique before you have to increase the muscle. Next question, Frick.
All right, next question comes from Brad in California.
Hey, Brad.
He says, any tips on good ways to hide a saw cut that is too deep in one of leg of a tail? This seems to be really visible when the tailboard is light colored with an extra
You
stroke on the
can't. You can't hide it. You have to live with it. Anything you do to it will only make it stand out. If you've let your saw run wild, it's just going to be there. You can't. There's nothing you can do that, well, as I said, will do anything but make it stand out even more. Just don't do it again.
All right, next question is from Hilton Baisley in Cornwall, UK.
Hi, Hilton.
How do you sharpen the side bevels of your half-blind dovetail chisel?
Well, actually, I don't. Well, we sharpen them. We sharpen them on the grinder. But you don't really need to sharpen them after that. The primary reason for having that relief angle is when you're pushing that in and you're wanting to clean up those fibers on the side, if this is left standing perpendicular, it's just too much pressure. You end up bumping into it. But by having that backed off, having a relief angle, you slide underneath there, and it's so much easier to get in there and cut. It is nice to have it sharp because I suppose it also helps to slice through those fibers as well. If I had to go in and sharpen it, number one, this gets limited use. You're not pounding with this. This is primarily for paring. You're going in and cleaning your corners, so it doesn't see a ton of use. So for that reason, you should probably never have to do anything more than sharpen right up here. But if you had to go in there, I would suggest you probably wouldn't want to use a diamond stone, and that would be tough. Although we're going to start carrying these. These are diamond. These are made by Trend, and these are, what do they call them?
Credit card.
Credit card. So this has got a 300 grit and a 600 grit, and you could go in there and use that if you could feel for where the flat is. You could go in there and you could sharpen with that. You can see it just started to cover. But really, you hardly ever have to do that, just because that does not get a lot of use, especially on the sides. Next, you're up late.
All right, next question's from John Carpenter in South Carolina.
Hi, John.
He says, if you don't have a skew plane, may you substitute masking tape to create the stop when tracing the curve cuts on the pin board?
Yeah, we've been doing that a fair bit lately. In fact, I told you that tape that Ken's son turned us on to. It's what did I put? It's really good. 4 pieces of that. So just let me show you real quick, because it's not quite as good,
It's not as rigid.
but it's good. So if I were to take four pieces, then make sure that's down there. Come in, I'll just trim that off on the sides. Take my marking gauge. You just make a few passes. Then we come in here and lift that off. And that will provide us that knife wall that we're looking for. Now, the only problem is that it's a little bit sticky because you've got that adhesive in there, and it's obviously not as secure as a hard wood edge, but it will work.
Especially right now.
Yeah, now that Lee Nelson is no longer, or not currently producing the Skew block planes, that they will resume, I understand, but right now they're having a hard time keeping up with their core products.
A couple people in the chat asked you to call Tom and get him on that so that they can buy the.
Buy the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Tom has promised to let us buy Skew block planes at wholesale so that we can provide every vet that comes to the class with one. He donates, Lee Nelson donates 2 mortise chisels for every vet every time we teach the class. So big thumbs up to.
Which is also not currently being made.
Oh, really? Well, he has in the past, and he will again. Anybody having anything to do with a home-based hobby or home improvement is in the middle of a boom. It's just been tough trying to keep up. Our volume is quadrupled. And it keeps Ken's only works 1 or 2 days a week, but it seems like a little full week, doesn't it, Ken? Next question, Frick.
All right, next question comes from Larry in Waco, Texas.
Hey, Larry.
He says, if you cut a thin rabbet across the inside face of the tailboard, doesn't this new thickness of the tailboard become thickness you use to set the marking gauge for striking the baseline on the pin board?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I did. If you'll notice, when I set my marking gauge to the thickness of my tailboard, so there, instead of, I've got a rabbet cut on here, so instead of setting it out here and dropping it down, I went in here and I, from the rabbet surface, and dropped it down. Now that represents this thickness as opposed to this one. And not a huge deal. It is when you're doing drawers for sure. And unless you want to end up having to plane off a whole lot of excess material, do that. It's worth remembering to do that. Okay, keep firing the questions, Frick. I'm just going to clean up a little bit here so we can plane off that board.
All right, question from Christian Estrada in Guatemala. He says, is there a way to saw veneers if you don't have any electric saws? I've managed to book match a few times with a handsaw and plane on very thick stock, but beyond that, I haven't gotten good results when trying to make matching pieces.
Yeah, it's doable. It's just a lot of work. I mean, if you're going to cut veneers by hand, that's a lot of ripping. Make sure you've got a good saw. Make sure your saw has the set reduced to just what you need so that it'll track well. You don't want it wandering on you. Keep it sharp and lift weights because you're gonna wish you had halfway through that cut. I used to teach advanced hand tool workshops, and we always processed everything by hand. So if we were doing any kind of an operation like you're referring to, we would have cut it all by hand, and it's doable. It's just a lot of work. By the way, if you're interested, we have, Ken, verify this for me. We have half-blind dovetail chisels in stock.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of them. We just recently did up a whole bunch. We do them right here. And we also have, actually, we're getting low on Kerfex 10s, but I just got the blades cut. So we're good to go. By Monday or Tuesday, we'll be well stocked on them as well. If you've got half blinds in your future, get a Kerfex 10 and a half-blind chisel, and you'll thank me. It makes that much of a difference. Would not want to cut it without him. Frick, next.
Yep, John Root in Greenbrier, Arkansas.
Hi, John.
He says, if one cannot yet afford either one of your specialty chisels or a fishtail chisel, what is the next best way to remove the waste?
Well, you can use an 1/8-inch chisel. Here's the problem. You're trying to work into a corner, and there's no room for... In fact, let me show you just a second. I will pull this apart again. What did I do with it, Jake? The other half of that half, it's right here. So if you're trying to get into this socket, and let's say you're using a 1/4-inch chisel to remove the waste, can you get right down over top? How are you going to get into that corner? Well, you can't really. Now you can come down from this way, and you can go in along this way, but in order to make that cut around there, it's going to be difficult. You don't want to power too much through. You may break off that end lap. You can use an 1/8-inch chisel. I could get in there and satisfactorily get into that corner. I got to cut a little bit extra than into this back wall in order to do it, but I can. It's just more convenient with that. So you can do that. Or you can grind an old 1/4-inch chisel, grind 2 of them, and make your own skew chisel so you can get into that corner. It's not the only way to do it. It's just a very convenient way of doing it. Several ways to skin a dead cat.
And turn it into a sweater.
And turn it into a sweater.
Okay. Another one?
Yep, keep them coming.
Mick,
Just watch my time because I want to be able to plane that.
yeah, this will be the last one. Then we'll finish and do the draw and everything. Mick McGuire,
Hi, Mick.
Turnbridge, Vermont. He
Beautiful
said,
state.
yeah. Any specific tips for making half blinds with more difficult woods such as white oak?
Oh, you're a glutton for punishment, brother. White oak is, they're just, no different. No difference in the technique. It's the only difference is in the amount of effort it's going to take. And it's the same with any of those really hard woods. And I don't mean deciduous, I mean just hard wood. You're just going to have to pound a lot more. Make sure that you've got your technique down before you put all that extra effort into it, because the harder you have to chop or push or shove, the less control you have. So you want to make sure that you know what you're doing and that you're comfortable with it. I have some people when they first start, I said, you know what, go out and get yourself some of that blue styrofoam. Practice sawing in that. It allows you to get your technique figured out and then move up to harder and harder woods.
I got one more question from Ebby.
What's Ebby saying?
He sent a couple. I don't know if he heard his first one, but he said, love using my half-blind dovetail chisel. I have the smaller 3/8 one. I clean out most of the waste with a bench chisel and only use it for the small back corners that meet at a tight angle. I don't suspect it will need to be sharpened very often because of how little it removes. My concern is that because of the taper on both edges, every sharpening reduces the overall width and depth capability of the tool. What do you expect to be the life of the tool for an average user?
39 years, 12 months.
Yeah, 39 years and 12 months.
11 months.
40 years. I don't think...
He's going to school with Luther.
Yeah. He was taking English, I was taking math. I don't think you're going to wear it out anytime soon. And the good news is if you wear it out, we'll make you another one. It's called repeat business. But I don't suspect it would be an issue anytime soon. I've got chisels that are 30 years old, and all the multiple sharpenings, I might have ground off a total of 1/4 of an inch. And I don't even think it's been 1/4 of an inch. It's actually less than that. You don't move as much metal as you think you do. All right, we've only got to do the edge of this, and we'll be able to tell how it turned out. Jake, I don't want to hit that.
Reminder to anyone who hasn't entered the draw to.
Hi.
I'm just reminding everyone that if they haven't entered the draw to do so now. The link is in the chat.
Did you get a count, Megan? Okay. I want to point something out. Remember when I said that I took my I chiseled too much from that side? Do you see how I'm starting to show a gap there? So when you're doing this, I want to reemphasize this just to make sure you're aware. I always
grab that pin, that pin board. Or
tailboard. So when you chop, I always start on the inside, finish from the face side. But when you on your first chop from the inside, definitely don't go more than a half. You're better off only going about a third. If you go too far over here, that far, and that's what I did on a couple of those. If you're chopping from the inside
do it on
and you're getting
do it on the right here.
What?
Right there. So I can see.
So I'd say stop there. If you're going all the way like that, which is what I did, what happens when you start to chop from this side, remember you've got material sitting up above the gauge line. So as you're starting to chop, it breaks. Instead of cutting, it breaks. And when it breaks, it always pulls fibers out of here. And even though they don't show on the surface, they're right below. And as soon as you start planing, if you plane any more than you anticipate, see what happens? You open up a gap right there. That's where that came from. What you're seeing right there is I overshot with the saw that we talked about earlier. But there's your joint looks great. And I didn't plane this, but let's plane it and see how invisible the, no, wrong way. So if you look carefully, you can see it in a few places, but it blends in quite well. Let me try this side. I'll just flush it up. It's just... If somebody didn't point out to you, you'd never see it. But it's a nice, fast way of doing a half blind. But again, the biggest reason to do it is so that you can make your drawer fronts all match perfectly. Okay, time?
Yeah,
Wrap it up.
We got 10 minutes.
Oh, we got 5 minutes. Your clock's wrong.
Didn't that say 10 too?
No, it says 5 too.
Okay, who did that? Okay, well, let's take one more question just for fun.
I'm going through the draw names. I'm cleaning it up. So
All right. So you ready? So let me,
No.
you tell me when you're ready. I'll just go through one more wrap up. So thank you to Megan. Thank you to Jake. Thank you to Frick. Thank you to Moose for coming out and being supportive of us. Thanks for Ken coming up here and helping us. Thanks to Luther. Say hi to Erica. He missed you. And we know because he calls us all the time telling us. Thank you to Tony for being such a great employee. Thanks for Mark Smith for helping us out when we needed it so much. Thanks for Super Dave out there. Thanks to Kevin. Fantastic idea Kevin gave us however many months ago. Turned out to be our number one selling product. That's our magic wax. People write me all the time and say, it makes such a difference when you're planing. Gets rid of all that resistance. If you would love to have a piece of Canadiana and in memory of Herman's birthday week, Moose is giving us, anybody watching can go to patsecretgarden.com and you can pick up that lovely sweater. Instead of $42, it's on for $30 for the week, while supplies last. Tonight we're drawing for the Captain is Always Right hoodie, the Dead Cat, keep you warm in any temperature, the Naughty Girl, made famous by Frick, the Canada hoodie, our new shooting boards. Thanks to Harold for cranking these out like he does a fantastic job on them. Absolutely fantastic. And we have them both left and right. We have the 18-inch and the 24-inch version. They'll go to market sometime this week, I think. And don't forget to get yourself a T-shirt. Thanks to Doc Mike. Tells us how great these cotton T-shirts are. And be sweet. We have maple syrup in stock and our maple butter that little Mickey loves so much. He didn't make his cameo tonight.
Nope.
And thanks to you. Thanks for your support for our Purple Heart project. That really means a lot to us. I look forward to doing these. And I can't wait for us to get started again. We've got so many guys that have been put on hold, and I apologize. I wish there was something we could do about it. But what we will do is we're going to have an incredible shop for you. Our new mess hall, our kitchen will be ready. The shop is going to be second to none. It is purpose built. We thought we had a great one here. Wait till you see out there. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Benches will be primed and ready. Thank you to Junior for all the work he's doing out there. And he's an excellent craftsman, and it really shows in his work. Thanks for all the people that work in here. I need to say hello to Rick Irvin, who just recently started. Rick fits in beautifully. We've got Dean upstairs. If you have problems and you're getting solved, that's thanks to Dean. Gina and Pam that do our packaging and get it out the door as speedy as they do. And Ian, I forgot about Ian. Ian, congratulations to Ian. He and his wife just had a baby boy. And Ian does a fantastic job too, especially on our saws. And Ken, can't forget Ken. Who did I forget? And Al. So we just brought on, well, you tell me when you're ready, but about a month or two ago, a guy came to my door, introduced himself. His name is Al, 20 plus years, Canadian military, started as a tank driver, ended up as a tank commander. Had 2 tours in Bosnia and 2 or 3 in Afghanistan. And in 2007, I think, a suicide bomber detonated a Toyota truck full of propane canisters. And as a result of that, Al tells me, he says he's got a lot of Toyota in his left arm from the shrapnel. And the heat from the blast started to cook off his own ammunition, so he's got a few holes from that. But he survived, and he just said he wasn't doing well at the job that he was at. He's retired from the military. I said, well, come work here. So he started this past week, and he fits in beautifully. It's wonderful to have him around. Did I forget anybody, Ken? The staff list is getting too long. Thank you to my own daughters, especially the Ren out there making the phone calls. Hello to Carissa and Beckham, Annika.
Erica for the food.
Oh, and Erica for the food, yes. Erica does an incredible job. She makes us a meal before we have here. That's the only reason that Moose comes, actually.
Someday I hope to get some.
Yeah. She uses up all her culinary art on us, and she goes home and, how did you get that little pot belly, Frick? McDonald's?
It's years.
Pot calling the kettle black.
I just don't
Years
know.
of work.
With her cooking skill, Frick's the best she could do. But
This is nosediving. All right, let's do the draw. Well, Frick still has some
Dignity. Yeah.
dignity and self-worth.
Your chance of winning this evening is 1 in 725, just so you know.
And by the way, that does not change when the first person wins.
All right,
I
ready?
got that lecture from Luther.
So what are we giving away first?
Let's give away the new one first. The Canada hoodie.
All right. Canada hoodie goes to
Just hope you look as good in it as he does.
David Gilbany in Illinois.
Hey, David, congratulations.
Next up,
Next up will be the Naughty Girl.
Naughty Girl. Charles Graham in Pennsylvania.
Charles, let us know what size you wear. Next will be the Dead Cat.
Dead Cat.
Stay warm.
Dead Cat is going to Victor Murcia in Romania.
Wow, Victor in Romania. And it's cold over there too.
think
If
we've
you
had it
didn't get a
over
dead cat and you want one, you can pick one up. Just go to patssecretgarden.com. Captain is always right.
Tonight's captain is Nicholas Anderson in Michigan.
Hey, Nicholas. I just bought another lathe from Michigan. I'm excited about it. And now, how many, Megan?
2,255.
So we're giving away two mitered shooting boards. Your choice. First one, Frick.
It's going to Doug Evie in Rexburg, Idaho.
Oh, wow. My wife went to school in Rexburg. Congratulations, Doug.
And the last one, going to Dragomir Digov in Bulgaria.
Bulgaria.
Bulgaria. Put another shrimp on the Barbie.
Not even close.
So, those of you who won, if you won the shooting board, tell us, make sure you let us know what size you want, and left or right. If you won one of the garments, make sure you let us know what size you wear so that we can get it to you. And remember, and finally, a big happy birthday to Herman. This is fantastic. We're glad that we met you. You brought so much into our lives, and you brought so much into what our Purple Heart Project. I hope you understand that. We appreciate you, and we can't possibly begin to explain how much. But so happy birthday to you, and happy birthday Tuesday when our little gift arrives. Have a good night, folks. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for being with us.